All right, everybody, welcome back. Part 3 of this sort of beginner tutorial series. We are playing as France. This is up to date as of patch 1.25.1. There was a hot fix. We are playing since that hot fix has come out. And with all the DLCs enabled, right? So far, we've thought about our geographic situation. We're allying Castile. We haven't unpaused the game yet. We're building a spy network in Aragon. We are buttering up the Pope because we're a good Catholic nation and we think the Pope's going to help us in a bit. So we might even ally the Pope too to even like further that along. Once we get a little bit more love going on there. We've rivaled England, Aragon, not Austria, Aragon and Burgundy. England and Burgundy rivaled us, so we didn't have a choice. Aragon, unfortunately, we had to pick between Aragon and Castile. We chose Castile for strategic reasons. We talked about that. We'll probably talk about it again. So we are going to be now, and we're building 10,000 troops right now to get up to our force limit because we realized that we had a mission that told us to build 2 force limits. So we've kind of looked and noticed what that's all about, what the force limit is. And we're going to build up to our force limit in preparations for war because we also have missions to conquer the English lands that are actually truly French lands, right? Like this is land that truly does belong to France. So we're going to need to go and conquer all of these bits and bobs here. So we've looked at our internal, we've looked at our leadership, we've looked at the technology situation, our economy, we looked at the estates. We were sort of talking about the estates last time. I don't think there's really anything else here that we should really be concerned about at the moment. The one thing I will say is the pesky thing with the forts, right? So right now we have the forts here. And right now, we're paying a lot in the fort maintenance. This is a huge amount of our money right now. Now, what we can do about that, I told you guys that we would be able to cut that in half by sort of the same way that we mothballed our ships down here. And basically not maintain the forts, right? So we can click on a province. I believe we can do this from the province screen, although I've never done it from this screen before. Here it is. I have done it from this screen before. This fort is costing us 1 ducat a month, and we can hit this checkbox and it will not be fully maintained. The other way we can do that is if we go to the military tab. So we haven't looked at the military tab yet. A lot of things going on here, a lot of numbers. Sort of just summarizes what's going on. In fact, it actually says we have military leaders, which is really cool. And these are historical leaders. They're pretty strong. So these are sort of their stats here, based on the fire damage, shock, or just shock efficiency, whatever, shock value, fire value, maneuverability, and sieging ability. So leaders have different prowesses when it comes to those different things. And just like our leader up here that can be 0 to 6, the general can be 0 to 6 on any of these values too. So 4 is pretty good, especially early game. Like these generals are awesome. We look down here, there's some fort icons down here. This is mothball all forts. So this will just let us just literally mothball all the forts. And the truth is, for now, let's do that. Let's do that. I don't know how long it's going to be till we go to war. This means that when we go to war, they'll become unmothballed. It'll take them a little bit to get going again. They're going to be vulnerable. They will be vulnerable for the short little while when we go to war, but hopefully we'll be able to defend them long enough that that won't matter. So we are going to mothball the forts. We're not going to worry too much about this. These buttons down here allow us to recruit more leaders, but it's saying we're already 2 out of 2, so we don't need to recruit any new leaders. But this is saying we can actually make our ruler a leader. We can make our heir a leader. This actually increases the chance that they will die. So this is a way to try to influence a way of getting rid of our ruler or heir. We can make, we can't make conquistadors and explorers yet because you need a specific idea for that, which comes from technology, sort of. We haven't talked about those yet. But we can also recruit a general, just like one of these guys, not our leader or not a ruler or heir, but just a regular guy. And it costs 50 military power. But because we're at our limit, again, we can go over. We can hit this button as much as we want, but it will cost us military power to maintain additional leaders. So because we don't really need any more leaders, we don't need to train anymore. And I promise you, if we trained any right now, they would not be as strong as the historical ones that we've been given. They would be much weaker. So we can save our power today. France is a little bit overpowered in that sense. This is just sort of an army professionalism here. This is a meter that will be going up and down, but you get benefits if your army professionalism goes up. And these are just sort of summarizing our units. We're not too worried about it. The units are not really that important. The units will get improved with technology. And it's just something that happens and you just apply it and you forget about it. It's not something that needs to be micromanaged. All infantry are basically the same at all times. All cavalry are the same at all times. Within a nation, right? Your enemy might have more inferior infantry or more superior infantry, depending on their technology level. But these will change based on technology level, and we don't really have to do too much about it. Okay, so we've looked at the military there. We've mothballed the fort so that our economy should be a bit stronger. It's quite a bit stronger, actually. In fact, if we wanted to, we could actually consider building ships. I don't know if we'd want to do that. Because what do we have right now again? We have 8 transports, 2 heavies, and 4 light ships. 8 transports is definitely not enough to make an amphibious assault on England. But the thing is, there's so much English land that's already just right next to us. I don't know if we're going to need it in the next war, or sorry, in the first war, which will also be the next war. I don't know if we're really going to need to go across the Straits of Dover. I don't know if we need to get into England to take what we want. I think we should be able to take all these provinces easily enough and just dominate them from the mainland. So I don't think we're going to be messing around. We're going to have to resist their amphibious assaults. They'll be trying to get ships over. They'll be trying to get people over via the ocean. Don't worry about that. But I think we'll play more defensively. We'll be aggressive on our own continent, but we're not gonna go across the way. Not in this war. It's going to be too expensive for us to rival the British Navy, because the English Navy, more accurately, sorry, is really powerful at the start of the game. And we can figure that out actually using something called the ledger. So the ledger simulates this idea that people are gossiping all the time. There's spies in every nation. People are buying and selling information. It's this idea that there's two sides of it. From a role-playing standpoint, that's what's going on with the ledger. From a gameplay standpoint, it's the fact that the AI cheats and they know everything about you. So the game gives you information about the AI. So if we go down here to what's called the ledger, I never hit any of these tabs here, except for the ledger. There is another useful tab down here, but we're not going to hit it. Well, this is the history. So we can go here and we can just see the history of France. That's kind of cool. That's actually kind of cool. I don't know how well organized this will be in 400 years, but that's kind of neat. Figured, okay. So let's not worry about these other buttons. Let's just look at the ledger here. Okay, the ledger index. For me personally, you can figure out everything about everything in this ledger. But what I want to demonstrate is the military. So we are going to war with England. We are training up 10,000 troops, and we already have, what do we have so far? So here's our force limit right here. We have 28,000 troops out of 38. We're going to have 38 when they're all done. So we're going to have almost 40,000 troops. How do we compare to England? How do we compare to England? And we know we have about 15,000 ships. Or sorry, 15 fleets of ships. Actually, I don't even think they're fleets. I think it's literally just 15 ships. Yeah, we have like 15 ships. Thematically, I guess. So we can go to military armies. Okay. So right now it's organizing it based on the size of the force limit. In fact, France has one of the highest force limits in the known world. In the known world. Wait a second, where's Austria? Oh, no, we haven't. Oh, I'm sorry. We haven't actually organized this. I don't know how this is being organized. I take that back. We do have one of the highest. I'm not lying about that, but this wasn't organized based on the force limit. It's probably organized based on manpower. Okay. Or sorry, no, just total troops. Sorry, total troops. We have the most of any nation aside from the Mamluks, which are just because I've played the game a few times, we do know that the Mamluks are down here. We're not concerned with the Mamluks at all. Let's go back to the ledger. It's going to remember where we left off. That's cool. So we got the Ottomans. We get just some of the most powerful nations in the world. We have England here. At 33 is their 33,000 is their maximum. We have 38 maximum. We're building up to 38. We'll have way more than they have. We'll have, well, not way more, but we'll have 5,000 more. Right now, we start the game with just 2,000 more already trained and ready to go. We also have more manpower than them. So I'm not sure if they've already started production on troops like we have, but we might actually have a significant manpower advantage against them. I'm not sure. We'll have to see how that number changes. So again, the manpower is the reserves. These are how many people will reinforce our armies as they become weakened, because every battle we fight, people will, there will be casualties, and we need to reinforce the ranks. We need to literally get people back in the front lines, and that's comes from this resource here. This is a resource. It's a very, very, very important number. You need people in the bank to fill the regiments when they get weakened. So having more manpower, when we run out of manpower, when we lose people in battle, they don't come, like they don't come back in a sense. We just get whittled and whittled and whittled. So we need manpower to make sure that our armies stay strong and stay organized in war, like during the war itself. So having a bank of manpower is really, really important. So basically this is everything we wanted to know. It even tells us that they have 19,000 infantry, 7,000 cavalry, and it gives us the numbers here. And this is just based on, because we're organizing it by the totals. So this is giving more powerful nations are at the top. We could do it, if we're just looking for an obscure nation, we could do it alphabetically. No problem. No problem. But this is going to be great, because we can also see Castile, who's going to be our ally. They're not too weak either. They're pretty strong too. And then if we go to Aragon, Aragon's a bit below them, but not too far behind. They're going to be one of our enemies. Burgundy is deceptively low on this list, because remember, Burgundy, we already determined, has a bunch of vassalages and personal unions. So Burgundy is actually, the combined power of Burgundy is a much more complicated equation. It's their troops plus their troops plus their troops plus their troops plus their troops. So it ends up, Burgundy is actually one of the more powerful nations at the start of the game. They would be somewhere up here, I suspect. They might even be higher than us in total troop capacity. But their organization isn't going to be as strong, because those are literally different nations that have to come together and unite strategically. And that's, you know, the nations are their own thinking nations. Burgundy isn't literally controlling all of the nations. So we're definitely going to have a stronger army than England. And England probably has a lot of troops over here. I don't know if they have troops here or not. And they'll have, but so it'll take time for them to literally shuttle troops over to France, mainland or Europe, and begin fighting. So we're going to actually have the sneak attack on them pretty easily. We're going to be able to position our troops in such a way we can even kind of move them into position here. We could position them along the front lines here and just get ready to attack. Now, we don't know what it's going to take to actually go to war with them beyond that, but we do know that we're going to have more troops. Well, let's look at the Navy. This is kind of like, this is something I already know about Great Britain. Yeah. So Great Britain's, or sorry, England's, I don't know why I'm saying Great Britain. England is the most powerful navy in the world. Like, Ottomans are going to grow very quickly, but England has 7 heavy ships. That is insane. Heavy ships are so powerful and so expensive. England starts with 6 of them. That is insane. So there's no way, in the current state of things, not until we take back these provinces here and make France stronger as a nation, there is no way we're going to be able to challenge them in the oceans. No way. I mean, the AI is really, really efficient in moving their fleets around, so it's very hard to sneak by them. We can't sneak by them. They will see us coming and they will intercept. So there's really nothing we can do about getting over to England in this initial war. And of course, you know, if we were a better player, I say there's nothing we can do, and that's not true. There are plenty of players that will find a way to do that. I'm saying I'm not that good of a player, so we're not going to be doing that. We're not going to worry about the Navy. We're going to hide. Our ships are literally going to hide, and we're just going to win the land battles and win the war that way. And it'll be just fine. We won't have any issue doing it. We will have no issue winning the war just through the land battles. Because they can't siege down Paris with a bunch of ships. So we'll be just fine. But that is sort of proof here that we can't do anything. In fact, where's France? We don't even see France in the list here. We have to go all the way down here to see France. It's 16 force limit. We don't even have the capacity to challenge them. And a lot of that is because, guess what? A lot of our coastal provinces, England owns those. To boost our naval force limit, we need more provinces. So that's the thing. By getting this land, we'll be able to build a stronger navy. We'll be able to build a stronger navy by having more access to the ocean. So by having access to the ocean, we get more naval force limit. By having more provinces in general, we get more military force limit. So we're just going to become way stronger, and England's going to become weaker because they're going to lose this land. So it's just going to be, all sorts of really, really good for us. All sorts of really, really good for us going to war with England. The last thing that we can look at, so this kind of ties into missions. This kind of ties into our missions. Is we are actually in the Age of Discovery. In 1444, the game starts in the Age of Discovery, and this is a DLC feature. I wish it wasn't because it's really cool. I'm playing it, messing around with it in my Prussia campaign on Twitch, and this is the first time I've ever used. This is only the second time I'll be using this system, but it's really, really neat. So these are objectives that we can try to complete inside this time period, inside the Age of Discovery. We can try to complete these objectives, and when we complete these, we will earn more splendor. We get one per month, but if we complete these, we'll start earning more splendor per month, and it ramps up pretty quickly. And with more splendor, we can get these special effects that will last till the Age of Discovery. So these are bonuses for, we can augment our nation's abilities through these benefits here. And I think, is there one for France? No, there's not one for France in this age, but there should be one for France either in the next age or the next age. There's some unique ones for France. So these are country specific. We won't be looking at those, but there's some here that we can look at. You know, make it free to do war taxes, which basically means we can make more money when we're at war. That could be a good one. Justified wars, we can reduce the effect of aggressive expansion. So that sounds like a good thing, but a lot of this stuff, the truth is we don't know what any of this means because we have no context for this. Going to our first war with England is going to be a huge amount of information that we're going to absorb and learn about this game by going to war, because to see how that whole system works in the effects and the causation of going to war and stuff, and how the other nations see it and such. There'll be a lot to talk about when we go to war. So yes, so we can discover America. That's kind of cool. So this would be if we want to do, of course, this is the Age of Discovery. This is very colonialism themed. Present on 2 continents. So again, this is, we can discover America, and then we can also, I believe this is as a nation with the capital in Europe. Yeah, that'd be easy for us to discover America. And then also, we could also colonize over in America potentially, and get this requirement taken care of. So there's a couple things that are colonization based. Humiliate a rival. That's something you do in war by basically destroying them in a war. You can humiliate them. Take that action to humiliate them. And that'll actually be a really easy one to do. We'll see if we can do that maybe at some point. Embrace the Renaissance. We haven't talked about the Renaissance in the different institutions in the game, but they're sort of related to technology. When that appears, we'll definitely be going over that, but that'll be in a little bit. That'll be in a minute. Control centers of trade. Own, control, and core at least 5 provinces with a center of trade. Okay, so we talked about centers of trade, right? We talked the centers of trade. I don't know if the estuaries count like this, or if it's literally has to be a center of trade. I'm not sure. I'm not sure on that. I guess we could actually just count. We have an estuary here, and we have a center of trade. We don't have a center of trade. So if it says we have one, oh, I'm sorry, we have one here. Is this even ours? Yeah. Okay, so we have one here, and we have an estuary here. So let's see, does it say we have 2 or 1? No, it says we have 2. Okay, cool. So it does count the estuary. So any of these provinces here in the trade map mode that show the special icon count as a center of trade. So if we can gain more of these, and we'll probably get one up here in Normandy. When we take Normandy, we'll probably get one. Oh, wait a second. Wait, we don't even control this one. Where are the two that we control? There's one here in Paris? Oh, there is one, or this isn't Paris, this is Champagne, isn't it? Or is this, I don't remember the names of the province, like the actual name, whatever. Reims. This is Reims, and this has a center of trade. Okay, cool. So we have this one and this one here. And actually, so we don't know if the estuary is going to count or not. We'll see. When we take these pieces of land here, either way, that's going to be really good. But, so we might be able to get 5 centers of trade. I'm not sure. We'll just have to look and see. That'll be a lot of work, I think, actually, to get 5 of them. Own a large city. Own and control a core province with at least 30 development. It says we already have 25 out of 32. So, of course, our capital is Paris. There's a good chance that Paris is a pretty high development. It's at 23. We haven't talked about how we can develop. We've talked about how we can build buildings here. But we can actually develop the province itself. We can actually improve with administrative power or diplomatic power or military power. So this kind of, again, parallels this idea of boosting the tax revenue, the base tax here. We can boost the production here. And we can boost the military, like what it contributes militarily, the manpower, and its contribution to the force limit and stuff like that. So we can boost the manpower, the base tax, how much money we make from tax, and also the production, how much we get from production. Which also helps us with trade, right? Boosting production helps us with trade too. So we could think about developing Paris to a 30 development province, and we would get this done here. So these are some additional goals that we can be working on. I don't know. Do we want to do a colonization game? We could. That would be fun. I think as France, I think there's a very strong chance we will be exploring the New World. I think without question, we will be exploring the New World. So hopefully we can get a couple of these things done and work towards some of these bonuses up here. And it looks like after the Age of Discovery, we'll be moving into the Age of Reformation. And then there's sort of Age of Absolutism and Age of Revolutions. So we will be going through these different ages as we go through the game. And apparently there's also a golden era that we can do. If we complete 3 of these, we can start a golden age and we get some massive bonuses for that. Although, to be honest, we probably don't want to hit this button. I've been told that this lasts 50 years. I've never actually hit this button before, believe it or not. Been told this lasts 50 years, so out of 400 we're going to want to pick a really good time to use it, but it is a very powerful ability. Very powerful ability. You can only hit this one time the entire game, not per age, just one time the entire game. Alrighty, so we are now looking very deeply at going to war. Let's hooray, everybody. We are going to be unpausing the game. We are going to be unpausing the game. Siren should be going off right now. Okay. So we're at speed 3. That's looking good. We got militaries that are sort of lining up on the... I don't know if we're actually going to... what we're going to be able to do here. Let's actually go to speed 2. Let's just keep it nice and slow for a second here. Let's unpause the game. As we can see, stuff is moving and grooving. The diplomat went over to Castile and has accepted. They have accepted our military alliance. It'll take 9 days for him to get back. So when he gets back, we'll work on something else. So time is moving right now. Now, of course, we've literally only played through 10 days of the game. There are 400 years in this game. We're not missing anything. We don't have to stress too much about it. Let's look at Navarra. It's something we did not talk about. Okay. Is if we ally... Let's go back to how many we talked about this in episode 1. So we've allied Castile. We're guaranteeing the independence of Scotland. This is telling us a summary of all of our diplomatic relations. So Scotland's actually... Their independence is guaranteed by us, so that they're protected from England. If England attacks Scotland, we will attack England. Like, we will be called to attack England. We will be called to war. I don't think we want to get rid of this because it kind of means that England will be England is weakened a bit, because if we don't have this guarantee on Scotland, we start the game with this. We didn't ask for this. This is just a historical thing. You start the game with this, but it prevents England from just instantly taking over Scotland, because they have to consider our strength when they declare on Scotland. To revoke this, though, let's hit this and see what is it saying. You'll get a truce. So the only penalty for doing this is we'll get a truce with them. That's it. That's not really that big of a deal, to be honest. I think we'll leave it for now. It is kind of annoying that that is one of our diplomatic relations tied up that way. But I think it's going to weaken England, because if we remove that, England's just going to attack Scotland and grow stronger. And we don't want England to grow stronger. So we have one more diplomatic slot. We have a free diplomat. We can do a couple things. One of the things we can do that we haven't talked about is, look at this. Offer vassalization. Okay. Offer vassalization. We can actually diplomatically vassalize small nations. So we can vassalize Navarra. We can vassalize Navarra. Brittany is too strong. Like, compare economically, Brittany is just too strong of a nation for us to just say, hey, you guys should be part of us. Provence is probably the same way. Yeah, Provence isn't gonna... We can't, like, ask Provence to be our vassal, because there's a lot of modifiers here telling us we can't do it. Apparently, we own... Oh, Provence actually has its own subjects. Wait, who are your subjects, Provence? Oh, Provence actually... Interesting. Okay, so Provence... Lorraine is actually a vassal of Provence. So obviously Provence can't be a vassal of us if they have vassals themselves. So... But Navarra is a small nation here in between three powerhouses that can be very easily vassalized diplomatically. We could also just go to war with them too. There's a lot of ways to do this, but we have a free relation, and we can go over this limit if we need to, because I think we are going to ally the Pope. Okay, we can't send anything until... there's also a cooldown when you send a request to a nation. Like, why can't we Royal Marry Castile? It's saying there's a cooldown. We just sent them a diplomat. You can only send a diplomat to them once every month. Once a month, so you can't spam them with stuff. But we're letting time pass here, and again, this is speed 2, not speed 3. So Provence is actually saying, offering us the royal marriage. And I think in the short term, we got plenty of places to expand and conquer. I think, yeah, Provence, let's do it. Let's royal marriage them. So that gives us some benefits. Let's actually look a little bit closer at what the benefits are here. So we're already allied with them, so we might as well royal marry Castile. That's a no-brainer. One, this strengthens our alliance. It strengthens the alliance. It strengthens our reputation. Also, though, it gives us yearly legitimacy. Improves our relations. Or improved relations. The stat improved relations goes up. The more friendly relations we have with nations, the more likely other nations that are not our friends will see us as good friends. And they'll want us to be friends because they recognize that we're good at making friends and that we're good at keeping friends. And then it increases the chance of an heir. So remember how we were talking about if we don't have an heir, we're at risk of losing our nation, basically? Losing control of our nation. So it's good to always have an heir. Always have an heir, and we want that heir to be strong. So yes, having royal marriages with nations is a very important part of having alliances with nations. Very important. So we could... So let's keep the time going here. We could ally the Papal State, or we could just make them very happy. And we could also see about diplomatically annexing... Oh, wait, what? Holy cow. Castile is fast. So, Castile is moving and grooving. They were already allied? That's so funny. Castile has already diplomatically vassalized Navarra. Basically, Castile presented them with the offer before us. For us to have done it, we would have had to have allied them first, made them really happy. We would never have beaten Castile. Castile was just like super fast. That's okay. We don't have to think about that anymore then. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We've just lost the ability to... We were too slow. We lost the ability to ally the Papal State. I'm not too worried about it, but that is a problem. We're kind of going to hope and see if... Let's let time just tick here. We're kind of going to hope and see if maybe Switzerland isn't a bad idea after all. Yeah, you know what? I think Switzerland could be good. Oh, okay. So we've built the 10,000 troops. We're getting a banner up here telling us that we have filled a mission. Now, we don't have to hit this right now. We can wait till we go to war because this is going to give us a bonus to our armies. So let's wait till we go to war. We have 10,000 more troops here. We're just sort of, you know, scrolling, you know, just highlighting all these troops. Let's get them all here. Let's keep these 15,000 here. We'll have to organize how we want these troops to actually be organized into stacks. We'll have to figure out how we want to do that. Currently, we're actually paying for our troops. What we could do is, one of the things that is added in the most recent expansion is the ability to drill your armies. And this increases your army. Let's go to the military tab. This increases the army professionalism. Okay, so this gives us bonuses to our army. And it also trains our troops and makes them more elite. So we can actually equip the leaders to these, even in peacetime. We can assign the leaders. We actually assign leaders to sort of army clusters, like groups of troops, armies. And then we can actually have them drilling. We can actually drill them. And this will do two things for us. This will increase the effectiveness of the troops because they're training. It'll increase our nation's military professionalism. And it'll also train up the actual leaders themselves will gain new traits. In fact, this leader already has a trait called the Siege Specialist. So it gives us additional siege bonuses. That's huge. This leader is killer. At the beginning of the game, 3 siege is killer. Because remember, we have those forts, right? We have forts over here. Well, the enemy has forts too. Let's look at the fort map mode here. And again, just kind of remembering that this is England, we can highlight, we see the English crest there in parentheses. So they have a fort down here. So what we need to do is we need to siege down these forts because they sort of pseudo-protect the land that's around the forts. Basically, the forts are what's going to convince England that we're dominating them. If we can take their forts for ourselves, that's going to tell England that we're winning the war. So we have a fort down here that we're going to want this army to probably move in and take. We have a fort up here that we're going to want this army with this siege specialist to go in and siege down this fort. And it takes time to... We can siege down these provinces without fort. We can do that in a jiffy. That's no big deal at all. But these provinces with the forts take time. And having these stats, having a leader like this that has 3 siege and additional abilities for sieging, it's going to go lightning fast. Okay, so we've gone up to our force limit. That's good. Those troops are trained. We can hit this button because we've completed this mission, but we're going to wait to start it until we go to war because it's going to give us a wartime benefit. So I think, yes, we've allied Switzerland. Good, good, good. Now what we're going to have to do is we are just going to want to butter up our allies too. Coast has been raided. Okay, so it looks like Tlemcen has actually sent their ships to raid our coast. And they pillaged... they didn't take the money out of our treasury, they took the money from our coastal tiles. So if we go here, we can see... Yeah, they literally yanked it. They raided it. They literally pillaged this zone. And they are a special nation that they have the special ability to do that. So what we could actually do, we could have our ships actually out trying to fight these ships here, but... You know, let's do that. We're making enough money. Let's do that. Let's stop mothballing these guys. So we're going to make sure our naval fleet maintenance is all the way up. And let's get these ships. We don't need transports going doing it. Let's just get our lights and our heavies. And let's get them actually privateering. Okay. Now that's actually something different. How do we protect against the raiding? Send a fleet to hunt pirates and reduce the efficiency of pirateers. Oh, hunt pirates. Oh, privateer is actually how we actually reduce... We steal trade power. I forgot about this. You can actually steal trade power from... I don't know if we can actually avoid what they just did to us. I'm not seeing something that says it, like prevent raiding or anything like that. Cautiousness, that sounds good to me. We're not a huge fleet here. Let's actually just I don't know if this is gonna help. I don't know. Let's just have them hunting pirates in Genoa. This might actually help our neighbors more than it helps us, to be honest. But let's just do that and see if that helps at all. Because that is kind of annoying that these nations down here are going to be raiding our coast like that. So now that we've been distracted there, of course, when you're unpaused, things come up. You know, things come up and you make decisions. Our coast has been raided again. Okay. Again, that's not coming out of our treasury. What they're doing is they're devastating our land here. And this is giving the province a negative modifier. So we're making less money from these provinces, but we're not really losing as much as they think, as they say we are. We're doing okay here. We're doing okay. That's kind of annoying that they're doing that to us, but we can't do too much about it. We're getting our troops all consolidated here. So this button right here is just to merge all those units into one. So we can create a new unit and split them up if we need to. Now we have a group of 8,000, group of 2,000. Still summarizing them here as 10,000. So let's merge them back together. So what do we got up here? Got 5,000 cavalry. So you know what? Let's stop the drilling for a second here, guys. Let's get these into a sensible organization. Let's get 3 different armies. So we'll have 12,000 here. We'll have... So we'll go over this when we actually get into a battle, but there's a reason why you want a good amount of infantry over cavalry. And it's the way that these troops actually work in a battle. So we're kind of splitting up our cavalry a little bit. So here we have a group of 14,000, we have a group of 11,000. It'll soon be 12,000 when this guy gets up here. Okay, events. So we haven't really talked about events, but events are always popping up. The birth of a permanent taxation system. So apparently Charles VII remodeled the French finances. Interesting. Gain innovation. Okay. Where's our innovation value? I'll be completely honest with you. I'm not... Here it is. So innovation is just a stat that somehow has to work. You know, it synergizes with the technologies. Makes sense. So it's increased by being ahead of time in technology and getting a lot of new ideas, being the first one to get ideas. So we need to keep up with our technologies, and we also get this innovation, which also gives us all power costs reduced by 10%. Holy cow. Oh, that's effect of innovation at 100. Oh, that's just at 100. So we're just trying to build up to 100. We're just trying to build up to 100. This will give us 1, right? Like 1 out of the necessary 100. Local unrest, well, we don't really care. So we could actually look at that. So this is going to give local unrest in Paris. But here's the funny thing. Paris is our capital. I mean, how much unrest could there be? If we check here, there's actually... If we click on any province, we can see a summary of the unrest here. Okay. So this is unrest of 0. And we can hover over it and see the actual modifiers going on here that make it 0. Of course, a negative unrest value doesn't make sense, but it is important to know that there are actually factors that are actually pushing it down below 0, so that we have a room for error, right? We have a margin of error here before we actually have any actual noticeable amount of unrest. So that's because of the tolerance for the Catholic faith. This nation or this province is Catholic, and we are Catholic. So obviously, everybody being Catholic sort of, you know, just settles the nerves a bit. And we also have a pretty high legitimacy out of 100 here. So legitimacy helps with unrest. The more legitimate our government is and our leadership is, the lower the unrest in the provinces. So by adding 5, by adding this modifier here, adding 5 local unrest, and it's only for a short time, this isn't going to do anything. This literally will not do anything because the unrest here is so stable. This province is so stable that adding 5 local unrest isn't going to do anything. Now this gives us base tax, so it boosts, it develops Paris, that's good. And it also gains the innovation point. Or we can trade the development of Paris for and the development of the other province, Bas Poten, or Portu, Bas Portu, or something, you know, whatever. I'm not going to be reading these correctly at all. I don't speak French, unfortunately. That'd be really cool if I did. So we can trade, so basically we can get 2 base tax and a little bit of unrest, or we can just take the stability. Stability, we haven't talked about it much, a very important number. It goes from -3 to +3. So a lot of these things are scales, right? Prestige goes from -100 to +100. Stability goes from -3 to +3. And stability is very important, but what I will tell you, look at this. To increase the administrative power of Paris is going to be 65 administrative power. It tells us here. I'm checking to see how much is it going to cost natively to do it on my own, to do this effect on my own. 65 power, we have 212. If we go to this tab here, which we haven't talked about, but this is relevant now. This is showing the stability of our nation. It's showing that we have 0 stability, but that's not a bad thing. It's not negative. It's just neutral. Our stability is just, it's not being, the stability of our nation is actually really good right now. This is sort of just a resource. We have no overextension. This is sort of just summarizing what's going on for the people, right? The people of France. What's going on for them? And right now, everybody's happy. There's no sort of unrest. There's no rebellions going on. Nothing like that. That would all be summarized here. These are disasters that could happen. But again, these are all grayed out. So none of these are actually a threat to us right now. And this also gives us a little information about our expansion and the amount of states that we have and stuff like that. So this is sort of our stability and expansion. So we can actually boost our stability on our own for 100 admin power. See that little, it's like a little piece of paper with a quill. This little symbol up here. So it doesn't even tell us it's going to cost us admin power, but that's what it's showing us. The iconography, right? It's telling us this will cost us 100 admin power. The truth is, let's hit the button. Let's boost it ourselves. So the price of stability to get it higher does go up. So now it's going to cost us 150 to go up one more. So now if we hit this button, here's the funny thing. Now if we hit this button, we'll be saving 150 admin. I actually didn't even intend to do that, but now I'm kind of thinking now we go there. So Paris, we could develop Paris for 65 admin. We could develop this. Let's check. Okay, so I'm now hitting a new button that we haven't talked about yet. I hit F. The F key is the one key on the keyboard besides spacebar to pause and unpause the game. Talked about it, I think we mentioned it last episode or in the first episode. But F will bring up this find it thing, which is also accessible down here called the find menu. But I don't ever hit this button down here. I just hit F. Well, of course, once it's open, it'll just be typing that. So here we could actually search for anything. We can search for, you know, Castile. It's saying, you know, the nation of Castile. It takes us to their capital. Or we can search for, you know, we can search for Paris. We already know where Paris is. But we don't know where Bas Portu or whatever is. So there is a hyphen there. But it knows what we're trying to find, so let's click on, there we go, so this province here. So if we want to develop it, it'd cost 62 admin. Okay, so 62 admin to develop there, 65 to develop here. It's going to be about 100, this is basically giving us about 130 admin. This, though, is going to save us 150 admin, and it's going to boost our stability, which is really important. So I think we're actually going to hit this button here, let it be. We're just going to boost our stability, keep everybody. We're going to resist change in this case. We're going to resist change, but it's going to give us a good stability value. And it's going to give us the innovation. We're still going to get the innovation. It's not exclusive to doing the first option. So now we're at +2, and now it's green. Now it's like really happy. If we go here, we can look at some of the benefits that we're getting. We're getting more global trade power. We can detect spies more easily, which is good because, again, we're building a spy network in Aragon. Having more stability means we can find the spies that people are working on building spy networks in our own country. So this helps us weed them out. It's boosting our tax modifier, so we're making more money from taxes because of this. It's lowering our corruption. It's increasing our military strength and our institution. It's just doing and it lowers our national unrest. Actually, having this stability means that the national unrest is even lower than it was a second ago. Now it's at -8.7 in Paris. That's crazy. So this is stability is really, really good value. It's probably worth more than just bumping this up by 1. We're probably making a lot more money with the stability from the taxes as a whole, boosting our tax income as a whole, than just getting 1 base tax in 1 province. Alrighty, so we've done that event. And what the heck were we talking about before that? Okay, I think we were looking at the map modes, right? We were looking at the fact that there's forts here. And we were also looking at how we want to organize our troops. So let's get this troop up here. Uh-oh. Armagnac, or whatever. So this province was providing a local leader that was a cardinal. We've lost that cardinal. He's, you know, for whatever reason, he resigned or died or someone replaced him or whatever. So we're now at 1 cardinal. It's kind of unfortunate. That's kind of unfortunate because the more cardinals I believe we accumulate... Yeah, controlled cardinals give us more accumulation. We get a little bit just as a base. And the yearly opinion... I think we get some from the opinion of the Pope. Yeah, modified by 8% due to the Papal State's opinion of us. And we're still working on that. We're still getting him happy. So that's going to continue to go up there. We lost a cardinal. That's kind of unfortunate. Uh-oh. Cardinal bribed to move. So this probably has... Yep, this has to do with what just happened. So there's no choice here. It is an affront to both us and our church. The fact that they moved the cardinal seat from a French province to a different part of the world. Someone else got that. So we gained corruption, which is... I don't know why we're gaining corruption. So it went to England. So England is even stealing the Pope's blessings from us. That's not cool. That's not cool. That gave us a casus belli against England, a reason for war. They have diplomatically insulted us. That gives us a reason to attack them. That literally gives us an excuse to attack them. But the truth is, it's a weak excuse. It's a weak excuse. And we'll talk more about the CBs, or the casus bellis, or this what we call the CBs, more as we continue on. They're a really important part of the game. Having the reason to go to war is a really important part of the game. I think what we're actually going to do here is... Does this have the... So one of the things we can do when we... Okay, no, wait a second. One of the things we can do is we can look down here. Another thing that we're referencing right now is how many troops can sit in a province and not sort of like... You know, what is the supply, what's called the supply limit of a province? If we put like 100,000 troops in one area, they're going to devastate them. There's not going to be enough to support those troops. There's going to be an attrition, right? There's going to be starvation and stuff. So we can look down here and see that the supply limit here is only 27. So if we add these troops in, we'll have just enough. No, it's 25 there. 17 here. Let's take them to Paris. Let's take everybody to Paris. Because what we could do is let's group them all up into one group so that we can drill them. So this leader can drill the entire group. Not just these 14,000 troops. So these should be drilling. They should be training. Yeah, England's just... We're getting reasons to go to war with England left, right, and center. They're disputing us on trade. We're fighting for them for trade value. We just don't like England. So let's train up the troops here. So they're just going to be passively training. It says over here, I believe, that they're being drilled. Yep. We already know that we fulfilled a mission, but did we fulfill another mission? No, just the one. So let's get rid of that. We know about that. All right. So let's just say, okay, we got a bunch of troops here. A bunch of troops. Let's just say we wanted to go to war now. What would that mean? Declare war. We have a free diplomat. Actually, do we have all of our alliances, or were we working on getting an alliance? That's right, the Papal State didn't want to be our ally, so we allied Switzerland instead. Okay. We allied Switzerland instead. We got Castile, Provence, Switzerland. And then we're guaranteeing the independence of Scotland, but technically Scotland's not our ally. We could actually just straight up ally them if we wanted. I don't think we want to do that because we don't want them in the war, because England would just destroy them and that would hurt us. That would actually hurt our ability to win the war. having Scotland in the war. So let's just hit this button, declare war. Now it's not immediately going to declare war. It goes to this screen here, declaration of war screen. Okay. So this is a lot of information here. I don't think we're going to hit this button right now, but we're going to take a look and see what's going on here. So we have casus belli's against England. They've insulted us diplomatically, so we can just do this war to show our superiority. And this is giving us a little bit of information over here about the type of war, or some of the benefits we're going to get for this war. Actually, where is the... We have to hover over it. Okay. So this is saying 100% aggressive expansion. The lower, the better. 200% prestige, though. We'll get more prestige for fighting this war. So, but what we want to do here, just because I'm a little bit, you know, I know what we want to do. We want to take all these lands. We want to reconquer land that belongs to us. So if we click on this, for example, and we can think about which specific, so that would be this province here. We can set this as the war goal. So as long as we take this province, we will be winning the war, pretty much. All else being equal. As long as we're holding our own and we're taking this province, we'll be winning the war over time. It'll be a ticking war score. We'll see how that works when we actually start the war. This looks fun. These are all pretty much identical. They're just different provinces, right? And we probably don't want one for one with a fort because it's going to take longer to get the fort. So it's kind of strategic to make sure that this does not have a fort. Okay, cool. Because we can come in here and we can ninja this really, really quickly. So we're gonna do this. But if we hover over this, we can see the benefits of this type of war, the Reconquest War. It's 25% aggressive expansion. This would have been 100%. This is 25, so this is way less aggressive. So people won't care. What this means is that people won't see this as an aggressive expansion against England. They'll see this as us taking back what is rightfully ours. We can also humiliate them because they're a rival, and we can go to war because of the trade dispute. But we are going to go to war because of the this here, the Reconquest. It gives us a really good modifier to take all this land on the cheap. So, and people won't care about it because it's really our land. Everybody knows it, except for England. Now down here it's saying the enemy's allies, and this checkbox is saying that these are allies that will join the war. In fact, actually, Portugal. Portugal is allied with England. Portugal will honor the call. Portugal is going to honor the call. They're going to get military access through Castile. And they're going to come and start attacking our land. That's what Portugal is going to do. They're going to find a way to get their troops through these lands here by asking for military access. And they're going to come and they're going to try to mess with us over here. The truth is I'm not too worried about Portugal because Portugal relatively, compared to us, is relatively weak. And of course England, if we can keep England from getting troops onto the land, if we can box them out from getting troops over, England's not going to be able to do anything to us, actually. We're only going to have to worry about Portugal. And that's going to be, we're going to be just fine taking care of Portugal. So Portugal is going to join. And then these here, we can click on their flag to kind of get a sense, okay, who are you? Okay. I'm not sure who these guys are. Offaland? So it must be naming it differently. It's like naming it here based on... Yeah, let's not worry about it. They're little nations. These are all tiny little Irish nations. In fact, we can... An easy way to see this is actually we can click on England. Oh, okay. So it's apparently this... It's being spelled in a French way because we're French. And it's not syncing up with the declare war screen. That's why we couldn't really see what we were looking... Oh, there it is. When we hover there, it makes sense. Okay. So these are the alliances. Well, these nations right here, I can tell you right now, they're not going to do. They're not going to be able to get across the oceans. They're not going to get their troops over here. We're not worried about these tiny little nations. Although they do have militaries, but we're not worried about it. But here's the thing, though, that's really interesting. We don't have to declare right now. We could. Right now, it's pretty much all of England's allies will be called in. And all of our allies won't accept because we don't have enough favors. We haven't been Castile's ally enough to call them into an offensive war. They'll defend us. They will defend us if we get attacked, but they will not support us in aggressive acts. None of these nations will support us because we're still building favors with them. And we could try to promise them land. We're like, hey, well, you know what? Maybe we don't have the favors, but I'll give you some of the land. Well, Castile doesn't want any of the land. They don't want any of this land, apparently. Provence doesn't want any of this land. You would think that Provence would actually kind of want this piece right here, right? But no. They don't want any of the land. So, and Switzerland, of course, can't reach this land. They can't actually do anything with this land, so they wouldn't want it either. So for the most part, we're going to be doing this alone. But here's the thing. We don't have to do it now. We can wait until maybe England gets into a different war. Or we can wait until a little war breaks out here and distracts England. We can wait until Portugal gets into a war with Morocco, because there's a good chance that Portugal has this province right here. There's a lot of hostility here. There's a lot of hostility down here. There's a good chance that Portugal might already be distracted in a war, and we can strike at that moment. So you know what? We could just let the game run for a bit here. We can put it up to speed 3. We can let our diplomats do their work. Let's butter up Castile. We go here and we find the improval of relations here. Butter up Castile, make them extra happy. And we can kind of just chill out, make some money, let our troops get better, and just let speed kind of go here for a second. So I think right now we are going to take a cut here. And I keep promising that we're going to shorten the length of the episodes, and I think this one's a little bit shorter. I think this one's a little bit shorter, but I am failing heavily here. I really apologize about that, everyone. They will get shorter, I promise. But man, I get so distracted. I start looking at the nitty-gritty, and we just start going on rants, and next thing you know, it's 45 minutes later. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Again, we are doing a live stream on Twitch. We play EU4 3 times a week on Twitch at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can swing by there and say hi. I'd really appreciate it. And everybody there usually has a really good time. And we can just talk about things. You can ask questions. Feel free to ask questions in the comments. Again, I will pretty much be reading every single comment to all these videos, I suspect. As long as it's feasible, which it should be. So, thank you so much again. We will be back with part 4, where we will, without question, be declaring war on England in part 4, and we will get to see how that sort of unfolds. Yes, thank you so much, everybody. Have a good one. See you guys next time.